Fundamental Beliefs of Islam. 1. Introduction. There are three important areas in which Islam directs the life of its followers. Religious beliefs, known as Usul al-Din, roots of religion. 2. Religious practice, known as Furu al-Din, branches of religion. Religious ethics, known as Akhlaq and Adab, virtues and manners of conduct. The two highly respected sources of Islamic teachings in these three areas are the Qur'an, regarded by Muslims as the Book of God, and the Sunnah, the exemplary conduct of the Prophet. 2. The beliefs Aqa'id. The function of beliefs in any religious community is to connect people spiritually and morally in their common goal of serving. IMAN in Arabic means to feel secure in one's faith by understanding the belief system intelligently and implementing it in one's daily life. Belief system requires understanding and commitment for anyone who wishes to follow Islam, submission to God's will, as his/her religion. There are 6 fundamental beliefs Usul al-Din, which must be understood individually and intelligently. Tawhid, affirming belief in divine unity, the oneness of God. 1. Unique in person and worship, O my people. Worship Allah. You have no other God but Him, 23:23. 2. Unique in names and attributes. 3. Unique in lordship. Allah is the creator of all things, and He is the guardian and disposer of all affairs. 39:62. 2. Nubuwah, belief in the prophets of God, especially Muhammad, we sent not a messenger but to be obeyed in accordance with the will of Allah. For our 64 minutes, I am the last in the line of the prophets of Allah and my masjid is the last Mazid, Muslim. Belief in the angels of God. Belief in the books of God, especially the Qur'an. Islamiat, belief in resurrection to account for one's deeds on the Day of Judgment. When a man dies, his abode, in next life, is brought before him morning and evening in paradise if he is one of the inmates of paradise, and in fire, if he is one of the inmates of hell, Muslim. Adl, belief in the divine justice, the attribute that guarantees that all humans will be treated equally as God's creatures, and that all humans are endowed with the conscience to distinguish the right from the wrong. 3. The practice Ibadat. In Islam there are a number of religious practices that Muslims are required to perform as their duty to God and their responsibility towards fellow humans. Be intention directed towards acquiring closeness to God through acts of obedience and dedication, Ibadat, that make these practices spiritually rewarding. Religious practices have a direct impact upon the development of conscience. 5 practices. Shahadat, declaration that none deserves to be worshipped except Allah and Muhammad Pbuh is his prophet. 2. Salat, namaz, is daily worship, required 5 times a day, at dawn, midday, afternoon, evening, and night. Who believe in the unseen, are steadfast in prayer, spend out of what we have provided for them. 2:3, you should worship Allah, as if you see Him, if you do not see Him, He surely sees you. Muslim. SAWM is the fast of the month of Ramadan, marked according to the Muslim lunar calendar that has been in use since the 7th century. O you who believe! Fasting is prescribed to you, as it was prescribed to those before you, so that you may learn self-restraint. 2:183. Hajj is the annual pilgrimage, which all Muslims are required to undertake once in their lives, provided they have the financial means. Zakat is the mandatory alms levy, zakat. Jihad is to strive and struggle with the spiritual and moral development of the self, so that it becomes capable of withstanding the temptations and defending oneself and others against those who threaten their physical and spiritual well-being. 4. The Sharia, Islamic legal tradition. Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh, developed to determine normative Islamic conduct as detailed in the Sharia, the sacred law. The Sharia is the divinely ordained blueprint for human conduct, which is inherently and essentially religious. The juridical inquiry in discovering the Sharia code is comprehensive because it necessarily deals with every case of conscience covering God-human relations, Ibadat, as well as the ethical content of interpersonal relations, muamalat, in every possible sphere of human activity. D. Islamic legal theory recognizes four sources on the basis of which judicial decisions could be derived: the Qur'an, the Sunna, consensus, ijma, of the early community of the Muslims, and reason, al-Aql, which recognizes a substantive role for methods of reasoning from data furnished by the Qur'an and the Sunnah, in order to estimate the unknown from the known ruling. As Islamic jurisprudence became a highly technical process, disputes about method and judicial opinions crystallized into legal schools designated by the names of prominent jurisits. The legal school that followed the Iraqi tradition was called Hanafi, after Abu Hanifa, d. 767, the Imam, teacher, in Iraq. 2. Those who adhered to the rulings of Malik bi Awanis, d. 795, in Arabia and elsewhere, were known as Malikis. Al-Shafi'i founded a legal school in Egypt whose influence spread widely to other regions of the Muslim world. IV. Another school was associated with Ahmad bin Hanbal, d. 855, who compiled a work on hadith reports that became the source for juridical decisions of those who followed him. Shiites developed their own legal school, whose leading authority was the Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, d. 748. Vi. Most of the Sunnites follow Hanafi or Shafi'i, whereas the Shiites follow the Ja'fari school. F. The scope of Sharia, understood as the norm of the Muslim community as a community, is defined by two essential areas of human life: acts of worship both public and private, connected with the pillars of faith, and acts of public order that ensure individual justice. G. The Sharia reflects Muslim endeavors to ensure that Islam pervades the whole of life. Conclusion. Get complete notes in PDF and book form from our Amazon store. Link given in description.